There was a room in Mia's house that nobody ever used, but every single night someone walked inside it. 3 years ago, her older brother Liam disappeared. There was no farewell, no messages. It was just gone. The police searched for months, but never found a body. Eventually, her parents stopped talking about him entirely and locked his room forever. But Mia couldn't ignore it. She kept hearing footsteps from behind that locked door. Sometimes she even heard a voice that sounded so much like Liam's. She knew it was impossible, but the sounds were real. She had to know the truth. If Liam was truly gone, then who was still in his room? Nobody believed Mia. Friends called her dramatic. Her parents said it was just grief playing tricks on her mind. It had been 6 months since her older brother. Liam passed away, and ever since, she'd hear faint scratching sounds from his old room. But one afternoon, after school, Liam's door was slightly open. Mia distinctly remembered closing it that morning. She asked her mom about it, but her mom swore nobody had touched it. That night, she heard it again, the scratching. And this time, a whisper. Mia. It sounded just like Liam. Her heart pounded in her chest. Was she going crazy, or was something else happening? She grabbed her phone, turned on the flashlight, and with a shaky hand reached for the doorknob. Whatever was in there, she had to know. She slowly pushed the door open. The old diary sat on the shelf, covered in a thick layer of dust. But when Mia wiped it away and opened the cover, the pages looked new. The ink was fresh, like someone had just written in it. Her heart started to pound. The first page had just 3 words. I never left. Confused, she flipped to the next page. They don't want you to know where I am. A shiver ran down her spine. Who were they? She frantically turned the pages, but they were all blank until the very last one. The writing was messy, hurried. Be careful. They're watching you read this. A floorboard creaked upstairs. Mia froze, her blood turning to ice. Who wrote that? And were they still in the house? Before she could read more, a loud knock hit the front door. Her parents rushed to answer, their faces pale, but they ignored Liam's room completely. Confused, Mia looked back at the diary, but it was gone. A cold dread washed over her as she heard a floorboard creak upstairs. Someone else was in the house. The next day at school, Mia tried to act like nothing was wrong. She went to her classes. She talked to her friends. She did everything she could to just be normal. But it was hard to ignore the looks, the whispers in the hallway. Then, after English class, her teacher, Mr. Harrison, asked her to stay behind. He leaned in close, his voice barely a whisper. If you ever need to talk, he said, glancing around the empty classroom. I knew Liam. Mia just stared at him, completely stunned. Her family had always told her Liam was a loner, that he never had any close friends. So how could her teacher know him? And more importantly, as she looked into Mr. Harrison's eyes, she saw something she didn't expect. He wasn't just concerned, he looked genuinely scared. What did he know about Liam that she didn't? And why did the idea of talking about him make a grown man look terrified? Her hands were shaking. She never thought she'd be back here. The school hallway was just as she remembered it, but covered in a thick layer of dust. It smelled old, abandoned, like a place full of forgotten memories. She walked slowly, her footsteps echoing in the silence until she reached locker 212. Deep scratches marred the blue paint, a desperate attempt to force it open. Her key, cold and metallic, slid into the lock and turned with a satisfying click. Inside, nestled among cobwebs, was a sealed envelope and an old silver MP3 player. On the envelope, a chilling message was scrawled in familiar handwriting. Play this first. Burn after. With a trembling finger, she pressed play. A click, then a hiss, then a voice from the past filled the empty hall. What secrets was it about to reveal? Liam's voice crackled through the speaker. If you're listening to this, I didn't run away. He said Dad made him leave, that it was better for our mom. I hit pause on the old cassette player, my heart pounding in my chest. Dad, why would Dad make Liam leave? It didn't make any sense. He always told us family sticks together, no matter what. The tape hissed, and Liam's voice came back, hurried and quiet. If Mom asks, tell her I'm safe. Don't tell Dad anything. The recording clicked off, leaving only the sound of silence in my room. And that's when it hit me. In all the time Liam has been gone, and all the tearful nights and worried phone calls, my mother never once asked if he was safe. What have they been hiding from me? It was late, the kind of quiet that makes every sound feel loud. I found my mom in the kitchen making tea, as if the world wasn't falling apart, as if my world wasn't. The steam curled up from the mug, and the silence was suffocating. Finally, I got the words out. Just a whisper. Mom, did he ever say goodbye? She stopped stirring. The pause stretched on, way too long, thick with things I couldn't understand. Then she looked at me, her eyes cold, and said, "Some things are better forgotten." My stomach clenched. Forgotten. How could forgetting be better than finding him? How could a mother say that? That was the night everything changed. It was the night I realized I couldn't trust any of them. It was the night I knew I was truly on my own. The basement smelled like secrets. Old, dusty secrets. Mia, desperate for answers, pushed aside box after box. What was she even looking for? She didn't know. But she knew something was wrong, something hidden in the shadows of her family's past. Her hands brushed against a rough woolen blanket. Underneath, she found it. A forgotten family photo album. She opened it, and there was Liam, her brother, his smile bright and full of life. But a cold dread washed over her as she saw the angry red circle drawn around his face. Scrawled beside it were 3 words that stole the air from her lungs. He ruined everything. Mia gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Who could have written this? Her mom? Her dad? Or was it someone else, lurking just outside the frame of their perfect family portrait? The secret was starting to unravel. The garage was dead quiet, except for the tiny echoes my every move made. It was way past midnight, and I knew I shouldn't be here, but something was pulling me toward Dad's car. My hands trembled as I opened the glove box. Tucked away in the corner, I found it. A single piece of paper, folded and taped shut. My heart pounded as I recognized the handwriting. It was Liam's. I carefully peeled back the tape. The note was short, just 5 words that sent a shiver down my spine. If I disappear, ask Mr. Carter. Mr. Carter? Our neighbor? The quiet man who was always outside mowing his perfect lawn but never ever smiled. The same man whose lights I'd see on at all hours of the night. Why on earth would my brother, Liam, trust our strange silent neighbor more than his own family? What did Mr. Carter know? The next day, Mia stormed over to Mr. Carter's house, her heart pounding with a mix of anger and dread. She confronted him right on his doorstep. He didn't deny it, not even for a second. His eyes were sad as he just said, "Come inside, but please, don't shout." He led her up to his attic, a dusty space lit by a single flickering bulb. The air was thick with the smell of old wood and paper. And there, stacked in neat piles, were boxes and boxes of letters. Every single one was addressed to Mia's mom. Liam had been writing for months. Mr. Carter was just the messenger, a reluctant secret keeper. "He didn't run away," Mr. Carter whispered, his voice barely audible. She sent him away. In that instant, with the truth hanging in the dusty air, Mia's world didn't just crack, Kit shattered into a million pieces. Liam wasn't lost, he was hidden. That night, the truth finally came crashing down in the quiet of their living room. Mia stood before her mother, the tension so thick you could feel it. "Where is he?" she asked, her voice shaking but firm. "Where is Liam?" Her mother's eyes welled with tears, a silent confession before the words even came. There was no denial, just a heavy, painful truth. "He wasn't safe here," she whispered, her own voice breaking. "Your father. He was going to send him to the institute. I couldn't let that happen. I sent him to my sister's house, where he'd be safe." Mia's heart shattered. "Why?" she cried. "Why didn't you tell us?" Her mother looked at her, the fear still etched on her face. "Because your father would have followed him. I had to protect you both." The final piece of the puzzle clicked into place, revealing a secret kept out of love and desperation. Weeks had passed since everything fell apart. each day a blur of confusion and worry. Then, one quiet afternoon, a single envelope appeared, slid under her door. It was plain, white, with no return address. Her name, Mia, was written on the front in a familiar, hurried script. Her hands trembled slightly as she tore it open. Inside, a short note, penned in blue ink. It read, "I'm safe. Don't hate Mom. I'll come home when it's allowed." And at the very bottom, a single name that made her heart both ache and soar, Liam. For the first time in what felt like a lifetime, a genuine smile touched Mia's lips. Not because everything was suddenly okay, but because, in that moment, the chaos finally started to make sense. Hope, small but bright, had found its way back to her. Thanks for following along with our story. Stay tuned for what happens next.